You don't want to be a moocher. If you are that person in your friend group, I'm sorry, get a job, make some money. Disclaimer right now, if you have not seen Girlfriends all the way through, please do not watch this. I don't know how far I'm going to get into this discussion in terms of episodes and storyline, but if you have not watched Girlfriends before, please do not watch this because I don't want to hear, you spoiled the show for me. No. Spoiler alert right now, okay? Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Karrington, and I want to thank you for joining me today. For today's video, we are going to be discussing the ever so popular TV series Girlfriends, which you can now stream on Netflix. All seasons are available, so of course, a lot of us I know have been binge watching it. The TV show Girlfriends is about 4 Black women growing up in LA, in California, and what they go through as single women. One of them started off married and then she became single for some time, but it's just showing exactly what they go through in their late 20s, early 30s, living in LA as single Black women. And it was definitely a really great show. It ran from the year of 2000 to 2008 with 8 seasons. So it was definitely a successful long running show. Unfortunately though, it was canceled. It was kind of cut short storyline wise in 2008. But overall, definitely a successful show where we got to see representation of Black women on the screen. I really honestly feel like Girlfriends is kind of like the Black version of Sex and the City. So this is our Sex and the City, right? If you've seen Sex and the City, it's a very popular show. I love that show as well. But let's face it, there is no diversity. There is no representation. No one I can really truly 100% relate to on that show. Girlfriends, it's awesome to see because we get to see 4 Black women, three full Black women, 1 woman who was biracial, and I think it's great that they show that representation on the show. Watching Girlfriends now as an adult is so different than when I first watched it when I was younger. So I had seen Girlfriends a few times here and there with my older sister, you know, just a few episodes here and there, but I wasn't really watching it like that. But I remember a few years ago, Hulu did bring back the seasons and I watched it on Hulu. So my first time watching it was cool. I thought it was entertaining. This time, second time watching it through, I'm picking up on things like, whoa, that person's kind of toxic. This is off. This is wrong. So I'm learning a lot more about their characters, and it's just so interesting to see and pick up on so many of the toxic traits and flaws that these women portray. But at the same time, you know, it's life. They carry a lot of traits that a lot of us go through in our lifetime, especially as Black women. So I found it really interesting watching it this time around. Right now, I'm currently on season 5. I just watched where Darnell confesses that he still loves Maya. The first character we're going to start off with talking about today is Joan. Joan, played by Tracee Ellis Ross. Love her. You might have seen her before on Blackish if you watch that now. I love Tracee Ellis Ross. I think she's hilarious. I think she's relatable. I think she is awesome. But her character, Joan, different story. Joan is 100% the pick-me chick. She is desperate. She is a workaholic, and she has this timeline of how her life should be, right? She is looking for her husband. That is what she ultimately wants. Her husband, her happily ever after. And it is so evident in watching this show that the woman is crazy. Let's all face it, we all have a little bit of Joan in us at some point in our lives. A lot of us as women, you know, we're a little bit like Joan at some point, you know, like, ooh, I'm looking for this in a man. He's got to be like this, that. She is a control freak. So she has a 90-day rule whenever she's dating a new guy, you know, no sleeping with him, no physical stuff like that really for 90 days. And obviously nowadays you don't really hear about that. You know, that's definitely a tough thing to follow, but she's very strict when she's dating guys. She's like, it hasn't been 3 months yet. You have to wait. Okay. And she makes it very clear what she wants up front with the guy. She's not afraid to tell a guy, I want marriage. If you don't want marriage, we are not together. And most of the guys, some of them are like, okay. Like, Joan is a lot to handle, and she has a time frame. Like, she wanted to be married by this age. She wants to have kids by that age, and she thinks that this is how life is supposed to go. But she has an established career at 29 as a lawyer. She's a junior partner at her firm. So she believes everything else should fall into place. She should soon get engaged, married, and have the kids. That's her happily ever after, right? She has this timeline, but things do not go her way. And I admire her because she doesn't want to settle. Then she thought she met a guy who was her soulmate. I don't know how somebody could be your soulmate if he doesn't want kids. And Joan clearly wanted kids. How is that your soulmate? Didn't make sense to me. Joan, she is so pressed like a panini for a man. It's insane. It's hilarious. But she gets to the point where she's a little cray. She's a little crazy. So, you know, she got to tone it down some. But she definitely has a good heart and she means well. One of the biggest character flaws that I've found watching Girlfriends and looking at Joan's character is that she puts everyone else before herself, especially when it comes to her friends. She hired her assistant Maya. Hired her as her assistant, and they quickly became friends, and Maya joined the group of girls. Maya joined the girlfriends, her clique. And, you know, it gets to a point where she'll allow Maya to leave work early to get her hair done. Maya's slacking off at work, you know. And it's just like, where is that line crossed? Joan doesn't really have boundaries when it comes to her friends. Her friends are always entering her home. You know, they do that in TV shows. As if people don't lock their doors ever. But her friends are always entering her home, eating up her food, living in her house for free. Her friends are just always kind of taking advantage of her. And Joan doesn't really put her foot down, and she doesn't exactly put herself first, is what I've realized. That is something that none of us should be. Like, we should not be trying to be such a great friend that we lose ourselves in the process. She's always putting everybody else's needs above her own, and you have to remind yourself as a person, like, yes, we want to be a great friend, but you don't want to lose yourself in the process. You got to put yourself first sometimes, and it's okay to put yourself first. Next person I want to talk about is Maya, played by the lovely Golden Brooks. Maya is sassy. She's from the hood. She is fabulous. She is a wife and a mother of a child that she had at the age of 16. And she is something else. I feel like, honestly, Maya is one of probably my favorite character, and I feel like she also is a fan favorite for a lot of people just because she's so relatable. Every time she's like, oh hell no, okay? Like, every time you hear that, you just have to laugh, and she keeps it so real, and I don't see why anybody couldn't like Maya. Starting off, when we meet Maya, she is happily married to her high school sweetheart, Darnell, who was originally played by Flex Alexander. And then they switched, I don't remember why. But anyways, she's happily married to her husband, Darnell, her high school sweetheart. And they have a son named Jabari. Her and Darnell at first are kind of representing that black love. They're giving us that black love. She's always talking about how in love she is with her husband. She's a religious woman. She's always talking about God. And she is, she's just quite the character. She is a hard worker, but she's also not, okay, right? So she's Joan's assistant, and we can see she just slacks off a lot at work. She's always talking about her hair. She's always gossiping, always getting in Joan's business or somebody else's business, loves to gossip. But at the same time, she's very focused. So she's focused on going back to school, which brings up issues for her and her husband, Darnell. So Darnell wants her to put her dreams on hold. And when she's going through a tough time with her husband, that's when she emotionally cheats on him, meets the guy Stan, and then ends up getting a divorce with Darnell. But of course, they later get back together. Seeing her go through her emotional affair that she had with another man, I thought that was very interesting that the writers chose to do that. But it was also like, you know, things like this happen. So after her and Darnell get divorced, we do see how Maya overcomes going through her divorce, going through her emotions, because she's still in love with Darnell, but she has to move on. So we see how she writes her own book, Oh Hell Yes, and becomes a very successful author. But like I said, she's a hard worker and she's focused, but when she's at her job, she's not. And we see how she takes advantage of Joan and even William. When she was William's assistant, she took major advantage of that job. She was never working, always on the phone, always at lunch with her girlfriends, always leaving early to get her hair done. The girl did not like to work. She had a job, she just was not working hard at her job. She's not like Lynn, who didn't actually like to work. But Maya is just definitely interesting. She is, I feel like if I had to pick one girlfriend that I liked the most, it's probably gonna be Maya, or somebody that I could relate to the most. It's probably Maya, because I know sometimes I'll be at my job and I'm just like, I don't care to be doing this, I have other things to do. But I still get my work done. So don't come for me. Don't come for me. Speaking of someone who does not like to work, let's talk about Lynn, played by Persia White. Lynn is biracial, and I'm not sure, I think Persia White is biracial in real life, but I thought that that was cool that they did include that for her character, because it is giving a storyline, and it's giving biracial women someone that they can look to as well within this show, because we do see her struggle and talk about her black side and her white side and what it is like being biracial. And she's also adopted. So, you know, for the longest time, she didn't know who her birth parents were. She thought her birth mother was Cher. Of course, that's not the case. But Lynn is interesting. So on paper, she is one of the smartest girlfriends in the groups, because she has 5 degrees. Some of them masters. I don't know how many master's degrees, but she has 5 degrees. She has been in school for all of these years, has racked up all of this debt, and doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, to the point where she does not work. Lynn is a bum. Like, it's like, what the heck? Lynn is a free spirit, and she's like, if I don't like this job, I'm not gonna do it, which is like good for her, but it's also like, girl, you gotta grow up. So she is a mooch. She's a moocher. Lynn is a moocher, because she met Joan and Tony in college. And I guess after that, I guess they always kind of took care of her. So for many seasons, we see her living at Joan's house, rent-free. Then we see her living with Tony for a little bit, probably rent-free. I'm pretty sure she even lived with William. We'll get to him, kind of the 5th girlfriend, for some time. And then she lived with Maya, but Maya made sure to put a timeline on her. Maya said, you got to go by this date, okay? I love her. I love her free spirit, but the fact that she can go on this long just mooching off of her friends is insane. If I had a friend like that, I don't think I would, I'm glad I don't have friends like that. I cannot be friends with somebody who is not working, doesn't have a job, and expects all her friends to pay for everything. That is a part that just blows my mind, because her friends, they try to make her grow up and keep telling her to get a job, but at the same time, they'll pay for her lunches. They'll let her play at their house. And, you know, Lynn is trying to find herself, and I get it. I get it. We're all there. But it's like, girl, you got to get a job. You got to grow up. Like, you don't want to be a moocher. If you are that person in your friend group, I'm sorry, get a job, make some money. You can still figure out what it is that you want to do with your life, but at the same time, you got to provide for yourself a little bit too. At least if you're going to stay with somebody, pay some rent, something. In some ways, I feel like we all kind of relate to Lynn, because let's face it, getting older, growing up now, and entering, you know, becoming an adult, I'm realizing we're all just trying to figure out lives. Our parents just trying to figure out, nobody knows how to do this thing called life, right? And so as we get older, we have responsibilities that we have to take on. Lynn doesn't really want to do that. She doesn't want to take on the responsibilities. And it's like, girl, I get it. I get it. But unfortunately, you can't just go through life mooching and just living off of other people's finances, off of other people's money, off of other people's lives. You can't do that. You gotta learn how to grow up and find your passion. And Lynn eventually does find her passion, but she just, I'm like, girl. And now, of course, we come to Tony, Toxic Tony, played by the beautiful Jill Marie Jones. I did not realize how bad of a friend she was until I was watching it again this second time around. I'm just like, whoa, Tony is... She's a bad friend. Tony is a beautiful, glamorous, dark-skinned beauty who is materialistic. She makes it very clear that money is important to her, right? So she is very hypergamous, very much talking about how she wants to marry up. She wants to marry a man of wealth, a man who's going to take care of her, while at the same time, she is a real estate agent. And she likes the finer things in life. Nothing wrong with that, right? But I've also come to learn Toni is very financially illiterate. Like, she will go broke trying to keep up her image and pay for these nice things. She goes into debt. She wants to keep her nice car, her nice apartment, and she wants to go shopping for all the nicest shoes, accessories, whatever, designer things only. Toni will go all the way into debt just to keep up her image and keep paying for the nice things that she has. And I'm just like, ooh, that is definitely not the way. She is originally from Fresno, California, and she mentioned that she moved to LA with Joan when they were younger, and she really just wants to forget about her country girl side, her country family. She wants to leave that all in the past. You know, she's now focused on the material things, keeping up this image, living this LA lifestyle, this city girl lifestyle. And that is just a little bit of what Toni is about. And of course, as time goes on, you know, we do see Toni grow as a person, not 100%. You know, she does marry a man who she comes to find out is broke in a lot of debt, but she still loves him and she still chooses to be with him and work things out with him. But we see, like, as a wife, she's not a, no. I don't even have the words to say. But also as a friend, we see that she is very self-centered. She's selfish. She does a lot of things to Joan that Joan has forgiven her for, that if that were me, child, we would not be friends. Because her and Joan have been friends since childhood, since they were babies, she always expects that Joan is going to be there for her no matter what. We've seen her and Joan in the roller coaster of a friendship that they've been through, and it's just crazy to see. If you have a friend like Toni, as beautiful as she is, good luck. Toni is just, I hate using the word toxic because everybody uses the word toxic, but Toni is that. She is a bad friend, but I loved watching her character on this show regardless. Would never want to be friends with a Toni, but she's hilarious. And the fifth girlfriend, of course, William Dent, played by Reggie Hayes. William is just adorable. Like, he is a successful lawyer who was working with Joan at the same law firm. He becomes senior partner eventually. I feel like as women, we do need a guy friend, of course, like that type of guy friend who we can talk to and learn a lot of things from, because you can learn a lot of things from the opposite sex. He's kind of awkward, a little shy, but yet very successful. And we just see how he interacts with each of the women and how he's there, and he's so caring, and he's just like, everybody needs a William, everybody. So those are all of the main characters of the show. But what I also find interesting watching this show again is the jokes that were said back then would not, watching it now, it's like, probably not funny anymore. Probably shouldn't have done that, right? There's a lot of gay jokes, a lot of trans jokes, just a lot of stuff that nowadays people find insulting, and it's like, it's not funny anymore. The jokes that were made back then that might have been considered funny back then, no longer hitting. No, not a thing. But they do hit on a lot of interesting topics, especially that was relevant back then. They have an episode where they talk about Toni's weave. Toni talks about what it's like being a dark-skinned woman. And I thought that was something that is still very relatable to this day, that dark-skinned women talk about, you know, when it comes to their hair, what is the image that they have to upkeep, how it's not the same for being a dark-skinned woman versus being a light-skinned woman. They definitely hit on a few things that I think some of it is still relevant and some of it maybe is a little bit outdated, but it's still back then at that time. I think they hit a lot of really good points. When I have children, when I have daughters especially, I hope they're gonna watch this. I hope, well, whichever streaming service we can use at the time, I'm gonna have them watch this show. Even my sons, maybe, I don't know. I have some guy friends that have been watching this show that find it actually very entertaining. All right, beautiful people, so that's all that I have for you today. I really just wanted to discuss the characters on Girlfriends and some of the things that I have noticed watching it as an adult now. It's so interesting. Let me know some of the things that you guys have caught watching this show as an adult now. Are there things that you don't like? What are some of the things that you do like? Be sure to leave a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I don't know, maybe I'll do another one on this. I'm not really sure, but I do really like Girlfriends. I'm gonna finish it hopefully soon, and I know that there's been a few other shows that Netflix has brought back, which I think is pretty cool. Be sure to like this video if you like it and share it, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Yeah, do that for me, okay? And check out my music and my social media all in the description box below. I want to thank you all again so much for joining me today on this video, and I will catch you in the next one.